Absolutely. Thank you, Ryan. Alan, good to see you. I'm so excited to talk with you today about one thing that I love, food, and specifically chicken and chicken sandwiches and chicken tenders and chicken wings. But no, it's really great to be able to have this conversation with you today and just talk to you about, everything from your journey to what Churches is doing and all of the ways that you guys have adapted during these kind of crazy times. Um, so super excited to be here today and talk to you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. But I enjoyed chatting with you the other day, and there's always such great content on these live casts. I'm a huge Jordan fan myself. I actually use Jordan Brand as an example in some of our brand docs a little bit, actually, to help describe things to people. So it was so fun to kind of hear that conversation leading into us.
And I wonder, do you have any Clemson colored Jordans? Because that's what you need to complete your all your collection back there.
Yeah, as you can see, I'm a Clemson guy. So my office is our former Clemson room, and Clemson is a Nike brand. No orange covered Jordans, but I do have a handful of Jordans in my collection that are worn frequently.
I love that. I love that. Well, let's talk a little bit about you. You've got a pretty interesting background, and it was fun when you and I were chatting. I did not realize we have a lot in common, but I think it would be really cool just to kind of start the conversation off with a little bit about your journey and then how you got to this awesome position at Churches.
Yeah, happy to. So I'll start from the way back. Undergrad in marketing at Clemson. Did a master's in advertising at University of Texas in Austin. Honestly thought I was going to start my own ad agency when I was about 22 and own it and run it for a long time. And I said, wow, this is hard work and a lot of work. So started in the ad world in Atlanta with my first gig at Gray Worldwide, and it was in telecom. And I was doing direct mail for Bell South, DSL, and dial-up. So sending out dial-up CDs to people, trying to get them on the $19.95 plan a month and bundle their home phone and their dial-up internet together. You know how far we've come now. So learned the advertising ropes there, and then made the first jump over into the brand side and moved over to Arby's Restaurant Group. Worked on product development, so developing products with research, with insights, with the culinary team, with sandwich, shakes, desserts, kids' meals, toys, all that kind of stuff. And then how do you test it, prove it out, roll it out, market it, and then took a little bit of a zig. And this really, my career, I'd say, has very much been a zigzag. It's not been vertical in any which way, but zigged over to Intercontinental Hotels Group and hotel brand with, at that time, 12 different brands. Now I think they're up to 16 or 17. Had the opportunity to work on a number of different brands, from Holiday Inn to Crown Plaza to Hotel Indigo, Intercontinental, doing marketing the business travelers, helping run golf tournaments, doing global partnerships, working with sales teams. So developing new product and innovation for the hotel, designing hotel rooms and fitness centers. So a ton of very different things kind of zigzagging around inside of the IHG brands. And then we're back into the restaurant space and we'll go over to Focus Brands, another multi-brand organization. Led the marketing team for Moe's Southwest Grill. So for all your burrito lovers out there, worked on the Moe's team and oversaw calendar and product development, marketing, media, launching a loyalty platform, revamping how we approach our just entire digital ecosystem. And so it was at that point where I was really starting to lean very hard in the digital. I had done a lot of digital at IHG, was spending majority of my time at Moe's on digital and saying, this is the stuff I really love to do. And there was an opportunity at Churches to come over and build out the digital marketing team and department, which really didn't exist before. And they said, we need someone to come over and help take us through a digital transformation, build out the team, build out the processes, build out the strategies. And there's not too often that you find a almost 70-year-old brand where you've got great product, you've got big distribution, and then you get to build from the ground up. And that's been my journey. So it's been very much a zigzag back and forth. Funny enough, though, my last 4 jobs have been in the same 1.2 square mile radius in Atlanta. So my commute has literally changed about 2 minutes every place I've been for the last 15 years.
And you know what? In Atlanta, that's actually an awesome thing because I think the traffic in Atlanta is worse than LA. I have been stuck in Atlanta so much. I think I told you one of the last places I was before the shutdown was Atlanta. So kudos to you. I love that. That is okay. So I think you, number one, it's awesome. You've had huge jobs everywhere, just being able to transform and figure things out. But number two, I just think it's just such a great place to be. It's such a timely, place with everything that's going on in the QSR world. I mean, I got stuck inside for a long time. I'm a mom. I don't want to cook anymore. And I know that we all kind of want to get out of the house and grab lunch. And then there's just a ton going on with how we had to change over the last, year. So can you share a little bit? You're building out this team, you're, working on digital transformation. Can you talk a little bit about how your team is structured? And then, just give us a shout out of like how everything works with your agencies.
Sure, happy to. At churches, I say internally we're a small but very scrappy, very nimble, smart team. So internally on the digital team, we really have two arms. I have a CRM arm, and I have really a product arm. And so CRM, I say web, social, email, creative, all of those own channels. And then the product arm is really our online ordering. We have 7 delivery partnerships. We're doing integrations across the board on different things. So really, we've divvied it up that way. We also have a media arm of the team that kind of sits between brand and digital. And then we have a brand team that really manages our calendar, the product strategy, the field strategy. And so I'd say that's really a little more of the traditional side of the business. And then everything that sits digital is over on my side. So I say anything a guest engage with on a screen comes through my team. Now, coming from where I was at Focus Brands at Moe's, everything was in-house. The only thing that was outsourced there was media buying. We had internal creatives, we had internal social, internal PR, internal SEO experts, all of that, right, to support the brand. Well, at churches, we're just not that big. And so we utilize our agencies for a lot of this. So we have about 7 different agencies that have specialties. We have a digital agency of record who's great, T3, and they support us on everything from CRM strategy and execution. Community management sits at our agency, social execution in their web, and all of our also supporting with our media agency too on how we think about media creatives. And so activations, all of that stuff really sits at our agencies, and we've got the agencies all work together in an interagency team. And so they all work together collaboratively on concepts and activation ideas. And then it's figured out, okay, who's the best partner to activate it? I always say, like, we don't care where the idea comes from, as long as we come up with a good idea or a great plan, and then we will figure out how to activate it, right? Sometimes it comes in-house and we activate it. Sometimes it goes out to one of our partners. So I say, we've got expertise in the building and then expertise at our agency partners. And that's where the relationship works really hard, because we're able to continue to push each other, share ideas, and keep each other accountable, really.
And, that collaboration, I think, has been so essential. I'm sure, like, specifically over the last couple of years, and I know you told me you already had a lot of the partnerships with the delivery services before the pandemic. So you were super fortunate in that, and your drive-through service was rocking and rolling. So I know you've been taking churches on this kind of digital evolution, but can you share a little bit about that journey and what's next? Because the good news for you, you were pretty prepared, but I know that you're always kind of thinking ahead. So would love to hear just what's kind of next on the horizon.
Yeah, I'd say, prepared, but also lucky. I was lucky when I started at the end of 2018 that we started our digital journey then, and we did a lot of base building in the first year. We called our first year the Connect year. So rebuild our website, relaunched our content and our search strategy, we launched our media approach, we launched listings, and then really assessed up all of our technology partners. When coming into the door, I'd say we had very disparate technology, data, and strategy. So it was all sitting in like 6 or 7 silos, and none of it was really being impactful to business. So we kind of made the decision, all right, we're going to knock all of this down, and we're going to rebuild it back up so that it all talks and works together. So we did that in year 1, which was 2019, a lot of that base building, but also the planning. And then in 2020, we were already underway with, we launched our mobile app with ordering in it. Phase 2 of our website, next generation of doubling down into digital media. We were standing up a customer database platform to get us to have a single view of our customer. So all of this stuff was underway, and then the pandemic hit, and we had to pivot, and we were going all in on digital. Like I said, luckily, we're very strong in drive-through. We already had delivery partnerships stood up. And so we relaunched our mobile app 2 months into the pandemic again. We relaunched a couple of other new technology platforms. And we were already doing digital marketing and digital media, and we just doubled down into that. So it was a pivot, but it wasn't as big a pivot. If that would have happened 6, 8, 9 months earlier, we would have been really scrambling for things.
Yep. And I think that that's super smart. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, no, all good.
I just wondered, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
It's always fun on the video calls doing this. Okay, so you were in a good spot. It's great to hear kind of how you're moving forward, but what do you think is an absolute must-have for brands that are out there looking to kind of re-examine now? Maybe something happened, you know, that over the couple of years, or their business is like, I think there's a couple different ways that things have gone. People have either flourished or they've struggled a little bit. What do you think are kind of must-haves for when they're looking at like re-examining their digital marketing and all their efforts?
Yeah, I think the first thing is understanding your consumer, and right, that seems like a no-brainer, right? But there's a lot of brands that really don't understand their consumer. And what are those small ways in? So for instance, for us, one of the first things I saw when I went into our Google Analytics in the first week was that our website is accessed 87% of the time mobile. So like our guest is not on desktop. So we said, okay, how do we streamline the customer journey when they're coming through their phone? How do we really only focus on those mobile experiences, right? Those type of nuanced things of understanding the guest. And then seeing where are those pieces that you can tie up to the larger business results. So in the restaurant space, we're always looking at daily comp sales. How did this day perform versus the same day last year, right? That's what we're measuring against. And you're always trying to tie correlations in there. And that's where things like attribution with digital media. So we know that we serve someone a number of different ads through platforms, and then that they actually showed up in a restaurant 4 or 5 days later, we can actually track that visit. So being able to track the visits and tie them then to the actual sales that are happening, or days we send emails, or different promotions that we're running with web coupons. All of this kind of stuff is being able to tie it back up. So if you understand, one, what the big measurables are, and then how do you connect them to, I say, the digital marketing activation, that's really where it starts to work. And then you can really figure out, like, where do I need to prioritize? Because there's some stuff that's really shiny, and everyone kind of looks at and says, oh, this is the shining star, but it's really not a big contributor to sales and what is happening, right? Or you can't tie it there. So you just have to make some decisions on where to prioritize. And I say that's the biggest challenge, and it's not a one size fits all. Like, every brand has to prioritize in different ways based on their customer journey and what they're selling and how they sell it.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. And I know even with our platform, it's been really different since the pandemic hit. We used to like not encourage people to do the QR code thing, but now everybody got used to that, and people are measuring it and they're like, whoa, this just worked 40 times better than it ever did before. So it's kind of cool to see some of the innovation that's come out of that. So what is the intersection of your traditional marketing versus your digital marketing? And when does it just become marketing, or how do the two kind of complement each other?
We talk about this a lot because Church's, being an almost 70-year-old brand, for a long time was very traditional in marketing strategy. One of the traditional media to branding, and really modernized all of our approaches in there the last couple of years. But I'd say we think about it as it's just all marketing now. So putting the guests' eyes on it, because our guests don't differentiate between if it's a video on YouTube, if it's a TV ad, if it's something I get through the mobile app, or something that I'm seeing on merchandising at the restaurants. It's all together. They don't differentiate that, oh, this is this channel, so this is why it's this way, versus it's this channel, it's another way. That's why you have to have that continuity in there. But also, people are okay with things being a little different. We talk a lot about it doesn't all have to look like the same room in the house. As long as it lives in the house, every room can look a little bit different as long as people understand that it's still inside the house. And, email does work differently than in restaurant merchandising, right? Or what you're doing on from a web experience versus social. They need to be different. And so those type of things, as long as they have the thread through them, it's okay. And I think that's where the continuity comes, because people do pick up that, why is this different here versus there? And it's all one experience for them. It's not, they don't break it up into silos like we think about it as marketers. As this one thing over here, that means everything else sits over here, and this is fine. If you fell down here, all the rest doesn't matter.
And I was thinking about that too, because you and I were talking about like how the businesses, the challenges that have happened over the past year, and some of the things that even people from a QSR are coming to me about. It's not necessarily even like getting people, because sales are great, right? It's recruiting, it's some other stuff that's going on. So I know that that this is kind of an unavoidable question, but I know that your business has had to adapt a lot in the past 12 to 18 months. We talked about, how you were kind of lucky and you were in a good spot, but moving forward, what do you think the vision is? Like, where are you looking to take your business, into 2022? Because, and I think we also talked about all sorts of businesses. I mean, I'm in Detroit, so the automotive chip things going on. We've got toys having problems. Pepsi can't get stuff to make their cans, and you guys are having, there's the chicken hook, hiccup. So just wondering, how you sort of manage your marketing kind of moving forward, and what where you're kind of looking to take the business into the next year.
Yeah, I'd say we kind of feel like this is the second wave of the pandemic for us in the restaurant business right now. We survived the first wave, and then now we're in this wave where it comes down to, making sure we have enough people to staff the restaurant, right? How do you retain employees? And then two, how do we make sure that we have the product that we're trying to sell? And 1 month it may be one product, another month there may be something shortage, or there may be a product that's planned that now the manufacturer can't get, right? And so, and it's every single brand out there. I talked to a lot of different restaurant folks, and everyone's dealing with the same issues. And so from a marketing perspective, the restaurant space has just traditionally been, here's your calendar. We've got 6 different promotional windows. All right, we plan, we set, we go, and then we go on to the next window, right? Now we have to be much more nimble, where it's, hey, 3 weeks into a promotion, we might have to be nimble. We might have to have a backup option. We might have to be able to shift media. Might have to have some contingency plans, right? Or we may have to go back to focusing more on our core products that we know we can get and that there's not supply chain issues with. So it changes the playbook a little bit for us as restaurant marketers, where I'd say it's much more real time than we've ever been in the past, and it's a challenge, and that's where digital comes in. As the more digitized a brand is, the more nimble they can be, if you're trying to do those two things at once, it's a challenge, and I think a lot of us are. I mean, there's always stuff that we're doing together, but just continuing to be out there and trying to do what we can with what we have.
I know flexibility is something that I think I continuously hear, and I think just being a good partner and knowing that people have these like business challenges is something that everybody's going to have to work together to do, right? So what are the ways that your team constantly keeps consumers and customers and clients like top of mind? And then how do you work with your agency? Because I know you've got, would you say 7 different agency partners? How do you work with them to do so as well?
Yeah, we really try to keep our consumers, what's trending, on top of mind. And we do like a weekly social media snapshot of what's happening in our social channels, what's happening in and out of our industry, looking at competitive benchmarking. We look at it on a monthly basis, but also just being able to just proactively share. I mean, we're on a Slack channel with our agency where we're just sharing ideas back and forth on different things. Hey, did you see this promotion? Hey, did you see this activation? Got this email from another brand that's not even in the restaurant. So, hey, this is really cool how they did this email, sending along. So it's all about just building that culture of learning. And I think that was something that when we built this digital department, did it very intentionally, because to be in, I'd say, digital and in marketing, you have to be a learner. You can't be someone that's just content with, hey, here's what I did 5 years ago, because that just doesn't work anymore. It can't be, here's what I did a year ago. So we we expect from our agencies. Our agencies are constantly giving us different recommendations, different ideas, and expect that from a partner, that they're going to push you, right? And then also you're going to push your partner and say, hey, have we thought about this, and why not? Or why haven't we thought about this, right? And so I think it's just all about building that culture of learning and sharing, and that eventually just sparks ideas and different things that might come to fruition 6 months later. But there was a spark of an idea that came from something that somebody found or saw.
Was there a certain idea or spark that happened this year that you're pretty proud of, or one that you think was especially innovative? I know we talked a little bit too about the way you're using some influencers, so this might be kind of a two-part question, but I thought that was kind of interesting as well.
Yeah, we've really gotten into influencers this year. We did a little bit last year with influencers, but then this year really did an always on strategy with them, and went through and found, I'd say, some micro segments of influencers that work really hard for our brand, that connect with our consumers. And so we've got a very in-depth briefing process where we give them kind of very specific assignments, but we would want them to be creators too. So if you're really strong at videography, we want you to create a video showing our food and post it on TikTok if that's your strongest channel, versus just showing you eating the food. If you're all about doing food reviews, then you want that to be your sweet spot in there. So we really have leaned into letting the creators be creators versus putting them in a box, and I think that's worked really well. And then that's helped us open up into into other areas of kind of fun ideas around having creators do menu hacks for us, right? Having creators create their own kind of brand videos. We had some employees that were even advocates for us. So I'd say that was something that we continue to test and learn, and we found what stuff worked well, what stuff didn't, and that's been a really big win for us. That's just worked really hard with a strong return.
And that was all kind of part of your strategy, where I think you said when you came into everything, it was a lot more like locally based type marketing. And then you kind of moved to national, and now you're kind of a good blend, and you're focusing a little bit more using those influencers. Do I have that right?
Correct. Yeah, we made a big shift to start to bring in national advertising into our plan a couple of years ago. And that's worked really hard for us. And so now we have this strong national plan. We have a strong digital plan that supports all of our restaurants. And so influencers kind of fill this middle gap area of being able to connect with our guests in different ways through different channels that we can't necessarily pay for, or that they're actually paying attention to, right? So it's this combination of looking at our own channels, looking at other unique organic ways to reach our guests, and then paid. And so it's the intersection of those. It's not one silver bullet, but how do those three work together?
And then can you talk a little bit about, I know you mentioned the delivery stuff. I know that there was talk of all the different partnerships you use in your app. Is there anything special that you sort of changed about that, or anything, that you've learned from being in the pandemic that's altered kind of how you operate with those things?
Yeah, with delivery, it's been super interesting. We had a lot of partnerships before the pandemic started, and we really weren't doing a lot of marketing on the delivery apps. It was just, if you turn delivery on, sales were just showing up and coming, right? Because DoorDash and Uber, they were just spending so much money in the market to drive people to adoption. And the great part about Church's is our food travels and holds heat really well. So, if you have to wait 30, 40 minutes for a delivery, it's still going to be hot when you get there. It's not a product that cools down pretty quickly because of our packaging and because we do cook to order. And so have really strong delivery experiences. But as the pandemic went on, and even into this year, now delivery is still strong, but you have to do more marketing inside of those channels, whether it's with promotions, it's with awareness, incentives, to move people around, because people's behavior has changed over the last 18 months from, hey, I'm going to go around and shop around to 20 different brands, and now I've got, hey, here's my 3 or 4 brands on delivery that are my goes to. So how do I get that to expand to Church's to be your 5th brand in that set? And I might have to incentivize you to do that. So it's a shift in the evolution based on what's changing with consumer behavior over time.
And I will tell you, my DoorDash bill has grown exponentially since the good old pandemic, gosh darn it. And I think it's just something that's so easy once you get to use it that it's, incredible for probably your business for sure. I thought it was really interesting when you described the different audiences, like your lunch audience does a certain type of thing towards your dinner audience. And could you talk a little bit about really what the products are that they like? And then if there's any type of like specific marketing you do to reach the lunch person or the, mom running around trying to get everybody to dance and robotics after school.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we really have, I'd say, 2 day parts. We have lunch, which is primarily a to-go occasion for us. It's a lot of boneless products. So our new chicken sandwich, Texas tenders, some bone-in, whether it's maybe a 2 or 3 piece bone-in, but it's more of that on the go occasion. Dinner is vastly different. Dinner is we have what we call a feed 4 or feed 6 meal, and you get your choice of different, whether it's bone-in chicken, it's tenders, your choice of sides, biscuits. So it's that full meal occasion, right? And those, I'd say, are kind of mutually exclusive occasions. And so we do different marketing for those. Some of it's day parting on media, some of it's day of week, which we know certain days skew much stronger for our family business, for dinners. Also, even when we do things like social postings and emails and all of that. So we try to really take those two into consideration because it could be the same customer and there is crossover in there. There's a middle spot, but there are different occasions and there's also different consideration for lunch. That they're probably thinking about that 30, 60 minutes before lunch, whereas the dinner occasion, we need to reach them a lot earlier, whether it's 12, 24, 36 hours, start to seed churches for that next dinner occasion. So it's a little different cycle from how consumers think about making that decision of what they're going to eat based on lunch or dinner.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, because I am that mom that like needs the big meal thing, and chicken's like safe for everybody. Everybody likes chicken. You can't go wrong there, right? So what are you excited about in your business for the rest of 2021 and 2022? What are you guys leaning in?
I'm excited about a lot. We're focused on a couple key digital areas, really digital experience and our websites and CRM. So we're doing some cool stuff with some new partners we're about to launch, which is great. We've got some great social activations coming up. I can't say too much about, but we have a great promotion that's going to launch in about 30 days with a really cool activation to close out the year. So the year's not over at all. And then getting into planning for 22 and looking at a number of things. It's interesting when you think about digital transformation because you really have to look back and say, okay, we did this 3 years ago. It was probably about time to look and not blow it up, but we've got to evolve it, right? So there's a lot of things that we did 2 or 3 years ago that now in 2022, it's time to re-evolve those again, whether it's to revamp, whether it's to add to, whether it's to change the approach on. So there's a couple parts of our digital business that we're going to be evolving in 22, which is really exciting to kind of come back around full circle and say, how do we take this to the next level?
That's exciting. It sounds like a good, fun year happening. Alan, pivoting a little bit, because I know you said you're small and you've got a scrappy team and there's been hiring problems all across the United States. I actually just hired 3 new people on my team and met 2 of them for the first time last week, which is kind of fun. Can you talk a little bit, just like, what do you do within your team to kind of keep your culture? Because I noticed you're at your home office still. Is there anything within your team, because it's small and scrappy, kind of keeping people motivated and moving ahead that you guys do?
Yeah, for our team, we definitely have a culture that we try to keep, and we do a weekly team meeting together, and half of that team meeting is just just talking about what shows we're watching. My team's a big coffee team, so we're talking about what coffee we're drinking. We go out to a monthly breakfast, and everyone walks out with a bag of coffee. So we find local places, then we try the coffee, and so it's unique coffee culture inside of the digital team. But I'd say the other part that that we're really leaning into is just recognition. I mean, we'll write handwritten notes and send them to our team, send them to our agency partners too, thanking them for what work they're doing, for their support, for a big win, and we mail it to them, right? And then Also surprise and delight sometimes with small gifts, things like that. So that personalized recognition that you miss in the office, we try to replicate it as best we can. And hey, everyone loves getting a piece of mail. I do, right? That's something that's an actual piece of mail, not just a direct mail marketing piece, right? So so that's worked really hard for us as a team of continuing that recognition.
I love that. We've done that too here with our team, and we're just trying to kind of keep together a little bit. And we've also just said, you know what, today this meeting is just about venting, or it's just about happy hour, or let's talk a little bit, which has been kind of fun. But I did get a new Nespresso. If anybody's had one of those, that was one of the best buys that I had during the pandemic, because I also love coffee. So that's kind of fun. Would love to talk just about a little bit, do some extra credit. If anybody has any questions, feel free to put those in the Q&A or in the chat. But I thought it's kind of fun just to talk to you about, is there, like, ask you a couple questions about some personal things. Is there an app that you can't live without that you're using all the time right
now? Yeah, and it's real interesting because it's one that I picked up probably end of last year. It's the Inscape app. And so it does self-guided meditations. They can be anywhere from 3 minutes to 30. And it was always a goal of mine to start this, and kind of dabbled with it last year. And then in January started it, and we'll pop it on. And sometimes it's a 5-minute breather in between a call, and it just kind of like resets you. But really good self-guided meditations with the Inscape app.
Inscape. Okay. I like it. I've been trying to do some of the meditation too. And I've actually done a couple of virtual, like Pilates, and then you lay down and they walk you through it, and it's been so fun. And it is true, after doing the video Zoom thing all day, we all need a little break.
Yeah.
Is there a podcast that you like?
Oh gosh, listen to a lot of podcasts. I'll give you 3 because it's unfair to say there's one. So they're different categories. So I'd say the one that I like to listen to that really makes me think is this one called Music Exists. It's by Chuck Klosterman. It's on Spotify. They like theorize about all these like heavy music subjects, like why does all music that comes from Cincinnati sound the same, right? And it's like it just makes you think about stuff, right? From a business side, I'm a big fan of Business Casual by Morning Brew. They just get some really cool entrepreneurs on there. Learn a lot, and then just on the pure entertainment side of stuff, a big fan of Juicy Scoop, which is Heather McDonald, and she does all sorts of entertainment. She has really interesting people on there, and she's just a really good interviewer, where she can dive in and probes people very much to like tell their stories. And so kind of cycle between those along with some others, but I think those are ones that I really look forward to listening to the most.
I love that. I've been trying to listen to some more podcasts and like go outside and walk around, get a little bit more exercise. So I appreciate those 3. Those sound really good. Is there a latest book that you have read that you might want to recommend?
Yeah, I just finished one literally on Sunday. And so it's an interesting one. My wife got it for me for my birthday earlier this year. It's called The King of Confidence. And it's a nonfiction. It's about J.J. Strange, who was one of the early Mormon leaders in the 1850s. And it's this antebellum age before the Civil War. The U.S. is kind of like wild, wild west open, especially when it relates to media. But it's one of these stories that you read and go, you can't make this stuff up because it's true. And so it's kind of crazy to think back to those times in the 1800s and how people manipulated the entire nation using media and other things, and these confidence men that were building empires and then falling down and rebuilding them. So it's super interesting if you like that kind of stuff.
I totally would. And it's funny because I love, I've been waiting for the next season of Succession to come out, which kind of is about media moguls and succeeding and everything. So that leads me to, is there anything that you've streamed that you're kind of excited to see come back? Because I'll tell you what, in the streaming space and movies and everything, we've been dying for content. So just wondered if there was anything there that you like.
A lot. Succession, I'm a big fan. I can't wait for that to come back. Like everyone else in America right now, finishing up Ted Lasso. Super excited for the last 2 episodes of Ted Lasso. And then I'm also a sucker for Money Heist, which is a show on Netflix. That's a Spanish production, and that's the last part is coming up in a couple weeks. So those are kind of some recent ones.
Yes, I just recently, I'm almost through the first season of Ted Lasso, and I'm like, he is the nicest man, but it's so fun. So fun to see that kind of stuff. All right, well, is there any other thing that you have done through the pandemic that's kind of helped you stay sane, focused, energetic, kept you moving?
You know, it's interesting. I started this daily kind of task list, and I'll show you. So it's like my daily habit tracker, and my habits are exercise, stand because I sit all day, meditate, outside time, healthy eating, 2 fruits and a veggie, read, be grateful, stretch, and hit golf balls. Now I don't hit golf balls every day, but if I can get like 5 or 6 of those checks on there, very rarely do I get all 10, but if I get like 6 or 7, it's a pretty good day. And so this sits by my computer, and it's just one of those reminders when you see doing the physical check mark, and I guess it motivates me to stand up during a conference call, or to take 20 minutes and go outside, or like, all right, let me sit down and read even though I'm tired. So it feels good to accomplish something when you have all that.
That is very organized, and I think that's a good idea. That's a little tip I might steal from you, because I need to get up and walk around a little bit and move too. Alan, I appreciate everything. It was very, very cool to kind of hear how your business has changed, some of the things that you're leaning into, how you work with your agency partners, and to get all your fun picks in your podcast too. So thank you so much for sitting with me today.
Yeah, this was fun. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Alan.